whenever you do anything, you always do it from a position of strength. And having a strategic reserve is that position of strength.
Hello, Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I am so excited because today we're going to talk all about banking. Yes, you guys heard me, all about banking. And what's one of the big questions I always get in Profit First is what you want me to start a minimum of 5 bank accounts? Are you serious? You know how much fees that's going to be? But today I'm going to talk to you about a no fee option with our only, and I'm going to say this again, our only certified Profit First banker, Greg Martin. Now, Greg Martin is a commercial banker at BB&T, now Trust. And he has over 14 years of banking experience, as well as he has insider really experience in the banking industry. He believes that every person is uniquely designed for a higher purpose and calling. And he is here to help you entrepreneurs really reach your goals. And today he's going to talk about banking. He's going to talk about the banking the profit first way. And we're going to talk about free. Yes, I said free bank accounts. Please join me in welcoming Greg Martin to the platform. Hey, Greg, how are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say thank you for this platform. I've been binging your podcast episodes, and really the amount of value that you bring to your audience, and to be able to just be so open and honest and transparent. Thank you for assimilating a way for us to be able to share information and to learn from one another.
Well, thank you. It's always great to have listeners on our show, so we're dying to know about this. One of the first questions that clients always ask me is, are you serious? 5 bank accounts, sometimes 6, right? When we're talking mats and subs. And
Mhm.
they're thinking, oh my gosh, $20 a month and fees. And you're talking today, totally flipping the script and talking about free bank accounts. So tell me, Greg, how does this work? How do we get these free bank accounts?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing to think about is whether it be with your current bank or another bank that you're looking to move to or use. They're like every other vendor that you have. They just happen to provide financial services. And so to be able to go and understand understand their business a little bit, good Lord in heaven, you do not need to become a banker. The world has enough of us. But to be able to understand that, but then also to hold them accountable like you do other vendors. Like, now, say you were a vendor and you were in an iron manufacturing company, and you brought in steel plates and steel rods and stuff like that. If you had a vendor that wasn't predictable, that jacked you around with hidden fees, things going up, things going down, not providing you the service that you deserve as an entrepreneur, then what would you do? You'd fire them. And I'm not saying that you should go and you should fire your bank, but what I'm telling you is that being an entrepreneur is so difficult, and you don't have time to waste with vendors that don't come around you and support you and push you towards success. And so your bank and your banker should be someone that you look at just as a vendor. It is definitely a partnership and a relationship. And if they're not providing that help, then move on. And not every bank, and you know this, Suzanne, not every bank is profit first friendly. And just the way that they're set up, the way that that bank has said, okay, here's the account types that we have, here's the fees that we have, because fees are a way that a bank makes income. And just like you as an entrepreneur in your practice, just like all of your listeners, they are entrepreneurs. They have to make money. They have to make a profit in order to be sustainable. A bank has to do the same thing, but every bank is not created equal. And some banks have accounts and structures that support and are cohesive to profit first. Others are not. That's not saying they're bad banks. That's just saying that they may be a bad bank for you. And so kind of having that mentality is where you start.
I love that. That is really, really neat. So tell me about, obviously BB&T, they're a national bank. How do we get in contact with you in terms of being able to start accounts with you? What are the requirements? I know that you're just down the street from me. You're in College Station. I'm in Houston, but you know
Yep.
what? We work with people in New York, California, Florida, Las Vegas, Chicago. How do we reach you so that we can get some free banks?
Sure. Yeah. So BB&T, now Truist, in December 2019, we actually merged with SunTrust Bank, and so we're from basically New York down to Florida, from the East Coast to Texas. If you skip over Louisiana and Mississippi, and then we all kind of cut down Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. So we're predominantly Southeast. So we can help and we can serve clients from a depository standpoint wherever we have wherever we have a branch presence in the state where we have a bank charter. So unfortunately, I can't help everybody. I actually had had a client, I think it was referred by another Profit First professional, emailed me this week. It was like, "Hey, can you help me? I'm in North Dakota," and I'm like, "No, I'd love to, but I can't." But whenever that instance rises up, I try to reach out and find a contact in North Dakota where they are to be able to help with this. As far as contacting me, you can, from the bank perspective, you can go to bbt.com or anything like that, or personally to work with me, to be able I have a personal brand. I know one of the favorite episodes I had was when your guest was talking about building a personal brand. Well, I am the Entrepreneur's Banker, and so you can find me on theentrepreneur'sbanker.com, and then let's just start a conversation. If I can bring value, if I can help, great. If I can't, if I can maybe even just empower you to say, have some ammo to go back and talk to your current bank to say, "Hey, let's work out a deal here," I'm more than happy to serve your clients like that.
I love that. One of the things that our clients ran into was in 2020, this PPP loan, right? And one of the things that happened when if you were in these really large banks like Chase Bank or, um, you know, Bank of America, one of those huge banks where you're used to doing completely online banking, right?
Mhm.
Then in that first tranche, a lot of people were having heart attacks because they couldn't get a banker, right? They couldn't figure out how to apply for PPP loan, how to get in the front of the line, unless they were obviously in private banking where, you were like a millionaire. How do we build relationships with our banker, Greg? How does that happen? Because that personal relationship has never been more important now, especially in this world of PPP loans. If anybody's branching out into like getting commercial loans,
Mhm.
how do we do that?
Every entrepreneur deserves to have what I call a Fab Five. Is those five individuals, whether it be an attorney, an insurance agent, a CPA, a mentor, another entrepreneur, and a banker, if they prove worthy, to be able to be part of those five people that you surround yourself with, that understand where you want to go and then hold you accountable and push you towards success. And a lot of times, quite frankly, what made me want to create my personal brand, to be able to educate entrepreneurs on how they can strategically use their banker instead of just a preferred vendor. A lot of people want a banker who's a preferred vendor. And what I mean by that is, they say, when I say I want a loan, they say yes. If that's all you want, then just wait, because literally, I think in 15 years, you're going to sit in your hot tub and you're going to say, "Hey Siri, you know that $2 million building I've been looking at? Oh, Siri, come on. um, I want to buy it and I want to get a loan." And Siri will say, "Okay, great. XYZ bank down the street has the best rate and terms. Do you want me to go ahead and set closing?" Because at that point, the system will be sophisticated enough to be able to do that. But you deserve more as an entrepreneur. Bankers, at the heart of it, we are risk practitioners, or we understand risk. We understand financial risk. We understand flexibility risk. We understand management risk, liquidity risk, reputation risk, concentration risk, industry risk, growth risk, all of these different types of risk. And we see them in a lot of different stages of growth, and we see them in a lot of different industries. So getting back to your point, is you deserve to have a banker that pushes you towards success, that actually sits there and helps you understand your financials, and to be able to sit there and look at it in a way that you, as an operator, maybe you don't necessarily look at it. Maybe you got into your business because you love doing auto body and you love painting cars, or you love trimming trees. You sure as hell didn't get into business to understand and just love a balance sheet and a good P&L. I mean, you and I might nerd out about that, but I'd be willing to bet that 99% of your entrepreneurs don't. So a banker is someone that can take that and say, okay, I understand where you want to go. I understand where your business is. And so let's talk about how to get from here to there. And let's talk about the risks and how you can protect yourselves. Because being an entrepreneur is so risky. You need to be able to protect yourself as much as you can.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And so what do you recommend in terms of like being able to reach out to your banker, especially like in this world of COVID, right? Where you have to go into the bank wearing a mask. And I don't know if you're like excited to meet us in person or not.
Oh,
Um,
I am. Oh, yeah. I wish we could have done this live, but that's
well,
just me.
what's the best way to build a relationship with your banker right now in the COVID world, especially if you don't have a relationship already that
Well,
exists?
if you don't have it, then, first and foremost, again, think about this is as a supplier. This is someone that is supposed to support you and your business. And so you interview them. And if they don't provide you the information, if you walk in and it's about starting a dialogue and it's about understanding, and the banker starts talking about themselves, starts talking about their bank and what their bank can do for you, starts talking about the products and services that you need to take advantage of, then those are three huge red flags. It is not about the bank. It is about you, the entrepreneur. You, the entrepreneur, deserve to be able to tell the banker, hey, here's where I am and here's where I'm going. Because how in the world can anyone offer any type of advice if they don't know either where you are or where you want to go? If they just start spouting, say, yeah, we can give you a credit card, we can do credit card processing, we can have insurance, you need the fraud protection. All that's true, but that's a salesperson in a suit. And if you have that type of situation, you need to get out as quick as you can and go find another bank that sits there and first asks, where are you? Where are you wanting to go? And then how can we help push you towards that?
So Greg, another question that people always ask me is, especially in Profit First. Profit First is a completely different animal because, our entrepreneurs are very intentional about their bottom line, right? So they are building retained earnings, they're building their profits, and they probably carry larger account balances. At least that's what I see with Profit First. Our clients, they typically carry larger account balances and they're looking to divest, whether that's different investments, starting another business. Obviously, we help them with a tax strategy, but another common question that I get that they start to explore is the idea of buying their own commercial real estate, right? Because
Mhm.
they're tired of paying rent. The great thing about having real estate is that hopefully it retains its value, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're in California, that could be kind of questionable at times. But, and so, even if they, just buy a building and yes, there's some interest, but even if they sell the building, hopefully there's some appreciation, they'll get their money back. So almost like having free rent. So tell me, Greg, what are the first steps? What are some steps involved with getting a commercial loan in order to get some commercial real estate for your business?
So specifically with that, I mean, I think you're 100% spot on to be able to find a way, if your business model is set up that to be able to grow your personal net worth through a building, but your business has to be set up that way. I've got a couple clients that they're in the medical service industry, and they're like, Greg, I'm going to rent for all of my life. And and I talk through them, and the reason that they have that is because their business model is one that they have to be very, very nimble. And so they could go into a space 2 or 3 years, and then the market may not necessarily be there for what they need to be. And so they want the flexibility of being able to come in. Maybe they pay a little bit more because they're not signing long-term leases, but they're able to go in and out. So if it fits your business model, then move on. First and foremost, before you have any type of debt in your business, you have to make sure that you have got what I call the strategic reserve or the vault in your business. That's the 3 to 6 months worth of all-in operating costs that in the event that there's a COVID-32 and the economy shuts down
Don't say
again,
that. That'd be horrible.
that would be horrible. But how many entrepreneurs have you worked with that if they would have had 6 months worth of cash sitting in in a bank account. And now granted, that's not going to earn you a whole lot. That's the break in case of emergency. But the amount of stress that they would not have had would have been amazing. So whenever you do anything, you always do it from a position of strength, and having a strategic reserve is that position of strength. So then the second thing is then you say, okay, so then you're going to go and you're going to identify the property. You're going to take a look at, okay, how much is it going to cost? Knowing that you're probably going to put somewhere between 10% if you go through the SBA, up to, depending on the property type, maybe even up to 25% of cash into the deal. And, because, and the reason I say like 25% now, imagine you're I don't know, you're an airplane mechanic and you have to buy a hangar. Well, that's a specialty type of building. It's not, or you're a bowling alley. I mean, you can't just go sell a bowling alley to anybody. It's a very niche type of building. And so in that type of stuff, you have to be willing to put more cash into it. But again, that cash should not be your strategic reserve. If you have to scrape all the money you have together in order to put 15% into the deal, and you've got no reserve, you've got no flexibility, then you're not ready. And then it's a matter of saying, okay, I pay $2,000 a month in rent. If I, have a $700,000 loan, my payments are going to be $1,400 a month. I'm saving $600. Great. But wait a second. Every single year, the tax man's going to come around and the tax man's going to say, hey, you owe me $15,000 for real estate tax, and your insurance is going to go up because now you own the building. And so it's about understanding what additional costs are there and being strategic about, okay, it's not just a straight one-for-one rent replacement. It's, am I going to be overall okay?
Right, definitely. And a lot of times, entrepreneurs don't factor in when you buy a building, there are unexpected costs, right? I
Maintenance.
know you're in Texas, I'm in Texas. We had the Texas freeze, right? Where the
Yeah.
power went out and people got leaks, right? And some of those leaks ended up causing significant damage, right? Drywall had to be replaced. You had to replace piping. And you need that reserve, right? And you need to be able to create that vault. And Profit First, that we do is every quarter we take half of our profit, and that goes
It,
towards building that retained earnings. It goes towards that vault until you have that 3 to 6 months of reserve for these unexpected emergencies. So when you're buying a building, you also have to think about the unexpected cost too, in addition to the 10 to 25% deposit that Greg is speaking about today. So Greg, let's talk about free. Let's talk about the free bank accounts. That's what we all want to hear. First of all, how long is this going to last? And second of all, how do we go and get one?
Sure. Well, so I can tell you, I know that there are a bunch of banks out there that are Profit First friendly. I can only kind of speak, obviously I can speak for my bank. And so typically banks have their business accounts, and business accounts are different than personal accounts, but business accounts fall into one or two categories. One is their packaged accounts. And then two, they're non-packaged accounts, and they have what's called earned credit rate. Basically, if you think about it, those are accounts that have large deposits in them, 700, 800, $1 million deposits, and you can earn credit to offset fees. So we're not going to talk about those. But the packaged accounts are accounts that, as long as you meet certain criteria, and this is what most businesses and most entrepreneurs have, as long as you meet certain criteria, then you have either reduced or no service fees. And that's where you're talking about, specifically with Profit First, you have multiple accounts: the income account, the profit account, the tax account, and maybe the owner's comp. But you've got three of those accounts that are going to have a minimum balance, maybe even zero balance, for 28 days out of the month. And so knowing that those are critical, it is critical to set aside your profit. It's critical to set aside your tax. It is critical to set aside your owner's comp. But if the bank that you are set up with doesn't have a mechanism that you can offset those fees, then again, you need to start looking for another supplier. And with my bank, to be able to have that, you can go online and you can search and so I'm not telling anything that's not open. And this is not a saying, hey, you need to come to BB&T. This is saying you entrepreneur need to be empowered to know what is out there. And we have an account that, as long as you have less than 50 transactions a month, and as long as you have paperless statements, so you don't have a statement mailed to you, there's no minimum balance, so it could sit at zero for 28 days out of the month, and there's no service fee. All right. Now, if you go above 50 transactions, so typically that's good for the income, the profit, and the tax account, and maybe the owner's comp account. If you go above 50 transactions, that's your OPEX account. We have another tier that goes up to like 200. So it's a business value 200 account, which has a very minimal, there is a minimum balance. And then above 200, the business value 200, there's a business value 500 that has a higher minimum balance requirement. But the thought process is that as your practice, as your business grows and it has more resources, it has more transactions, then the probability of being able to have $10,000 in an account is probably higher than when you're first starting out. So as you grow, you're able to transition from one account to the next and not have to change checks, not have to change debit cards, not have to change any of that stuff. It's a behind the scenes transaction. And a lot of the banks that just talking with peers and friends at other banks, they have something similar. Not every bank does, but it's about understanding what's out there and saying, I deserve this, and I deserve to not have to, I deserve to be able to have 6 accounts and pay 0 in fees.
Yeah, it's especially like you said, owners pay tax, profit. They're not going to have a whole lot of activity in it. And when you're talking about transactions, are you talking about checks or are you talking about deposits?
Both.
Okay, so it's just a cumulative.
That's correct. That's correct.
Got it. No, that
Necessarily like the transfer, the electronic channel, when you log in online and you see them, some banks count the transfer from one account to the next as a transaction, some don't. But it's just about understanding, having that good, having a detailed conversation with your banker.
now is this something I have to go in and visit you in order to start this account, or how do we start this account when I live in like New York or Florida or Oklahoma, or how do I start this account with you?
Well, so I'm able to help clients that are in the states that BB&T or SunTrust is in. So again, predominantly Southeast, and I'm so excited that banks, BB&T, now Truist specifically, but banks in general, are finally coming into the 21st century, and that we are able to go and we're able to open up accounts completely online. I've got a lot of clients that are in Florida that, I always like to understand where they are, and I always understand where Profit First is. But then we open up accounts and we send them electronic authentications, and they're able to sign using their smartphone or their tablet. So just using their finger on it. And so I tell clients that success for me is you opening up 7 accounts and never setting foot inside of a bank. If you want to, great, I can coordinate that. But you are entrepreneur, you are busy. You do what you need to do. You do what you have to do in order to earn revenue and earn profit, and let the banker take care of the banking.
I love that. So you guys heard that. Go ahead and sign up for your free accounts now. Contact Greg Martin. So Greg, as we wrap up today, one of the things I love to ask our guests is if you could leave our viewers and our listeners with one piece of advice, be personal or business, what would that advice be that you'd like to leave us with today?
Sure. Okay, well, I'm going to give you 2. First off, entrepreneurs, you need to know your numbers. You need to be able to understand the financial health of your business, because if you don't understand that, then you don't know if you have the financial strength and staying power in order to achieve your operational goals. And so you really need to be able to know your numbers, understand what's there, and then be able to maximize profit. And then the second thing is that as you're going through and you're thinking about your relationship with your banker and with your bank, you need to have, you need to always be thinking of from a sense of flexibility. And that's everything from understanding understanding your suppliers and your vendors and your customers, and maximizing flexibility with them, maximizing flexibility with your bank, maximizing flexibility with maybe your loans or your accounts. Like I'm having a lot of conversations about entrepreneurs that want to get out of debt fast, and that's fantastic. And say, okay, Greg, I want this loan to be paid off in 5 years, and that's great. But if I can offer you a 10-year loan to keep that payment down, the rate may be a little bit higher, but if you aggressively pay it off like you would a 5-year loan, then the rate's lower anyway, the effective rate's lower. But if something were to happen again, like another pandemic or an ice storm in Texas, when all of a sudden to be able to say, Greg, I know I have to pay $8,000 a month, but my business can afford for me to pay $11,000 a month. So I'm going to do that. But then when something unexpected happened, is that a phone call that you say, okay, go back to the 8,000. And that way you just injected $3,000 a month of flexibility and cash flow in your business. And it's because you strategically thought about how to be flexible.
I love that. That is great. That is awesome. And that's a really great piece of advice there too. And it's great having a banker like you and a relationship with a banker like you. I always say, you know, you want to know your banker before you need your banker, right? So definitely
That's right.
form that relationship. That is really important there too with that. And so, Greg, in terms of being able to contact you, to work with you, to start these bank accounts, what is the best way for our viewers and listeners to contact you to learn more, to be able to really start profit first the right way with the bank resources that they need, or even get a
Sure.
PPP loan?
I think that the best way to contact me is, I'm out of all the social media platforms, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So definitely connect with me there. And I'm the commercial officer. I'm Greg Martin in Bryan College Station, Texas. Or you can go to theentrepreneursbanker.com, theentrepreneursbanker.com. And that's my personal brand lives. That's where my blog is. I've got a lot of articles that I've written specifically to help and educate and empower entrepreneurs. I've got a couple videos that I develop classes about financial flexibility and how to improve it. And then also talking about financial planning on how to plan different areas in your business. And then be on the lookout. I'm actually working on my third one now about understanding your working capital and your working capital cycle and how you can maximize that. So those LinkedIn or theentrepreneursbanker.com are the best ways to get a hold of me.
That would be amazing. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to put Greg Martin's information in our show notes, including his website, so that you can contact him with that. Thank you, Greg, so much for joining us today and just sharing your knowledge and helping us really be able to implement profit first with, while at the same time reducing our expenses, right?
That's right. Well, thank you, Suzanne. It's an honor to be here. And to all your listeners, let me know how I can serve, encourage, and support you.
Thank you.